Thomas à Kempis, chapter 20. Seek a convenient time to retire into thyself and meditate often upon God's loving kindnesses. Notice the plural, loving kindnesses. If we talk about loving kindness in the singular, we're thinking of God's attribute. He has loving kindness. He is loving kindness. But loving kindnesses, plural, are actions. We're thinking of his actions. Thomas à Kempis isn't talking about meditating on an attribute of God, but upon his actions. These are two very different things. It's like count your blessings, but a step higher, much higher. Because when we count our blessings, we can easily remain right there, thinking of our well-being, our health, our family, our homes, the church, our Bibles, and a room to sit in peace and quiet. These are all wonderful blessings. But Thomas à Kempis reminds us of the giver. These are the loving kindnesses of God, he says. Beyond the gift, the giver. Beyond the blessing, the blesser. Meditate on the loving kindnesses of God, he says. Those which we enjoy today as well as those which we have received in the past. Jacob, as an old man, looked back on his life and spoke of the God who has fed me every day of my life. Genesis chapter 48 verse 15. If he had known earlier in his life what he later came to know, he would never have been anxious, and neither should we. God will prove to us his faithfulness by continuing to provide loving kindnesses at just the right time. Faith rejoices in the promises of loving kindnesses. Faith sees them and enjoys them before they arrive. The habit of bringing to mind or meditating on God's loving kindnesses of the past, the present and the future is a powerful antidote to doubts and fears. Do I ever think to myself, it was lucky I was there at that time, or he was unlucky? A Christian understands that there is nothing haphazard in life, and it's when he casts his mind back over his past that he detects the unseen hand of God bestowing loving kindnesses at just the right time and in just the right place. Many are eaten up by dark feelings of regret, even despair about the past that cannot be changed. If only I hadn't done this or that. But God is all-powerful, and he can even redeem our dreadful mistakes of the past and provide something to eat out of the eater. Judges chapter 14, verse 14. This consumes the devil with frustration. And what are those things that we call coincidences? Two or more things coming together unexpectedly. Ask God to show you his unseen hand that was working there in those so-called coincidences. Maybe we should start expecting them and looking for them. What are you going to do today, Lord? Expect the unexpected. Not so obvious is the fact that this habit of thanking God for his loving kindnesses is an antidote to the pride of life. The proud man surveys his family and his goods and says, I gained all of this by my hard work and cleverness. He may even make the mistake of thinking there's also a sign of God's approval of his life, and his pride swells even more. And pride is the father of many children, all of them badly behaved. The antidote is to meditate on the loving kindnesses of God, not just the loving kindnesses themselves. The first thing we do, for instance, when we open a present, maybe at Christmas or on our birthday, is to look at the person who gave it to us and to thank them. The gift really is kind of secondary. Another thing, gratitude is an antidote to that thing that assails us and ruins so many Christian lives, anxiety. Since our expulsion from the garden 6,000 years ago, we have been prone to worry. Thinking of God's loving kindnesses toward us, we are reassured that what he has been to us in the past, he shall be to us again in the future. He will surround us with songs of deliverance. Psalm 32 verse 7. And that brings us to the fears we can have about tomorrow. Meditate not on the unending idle rumours of the media, do they ever give up, nor on your present circumstances that may not be very pleasant, but meditate on God's loving kindnesses. And don't fear failure. God is faithful and will never leave you. His presence is another one of his loving kindnesses, maybe the richest and best. And don't fear death. The Christian falls asleep in Jesus, awaiting the resurrection of the body, another loving kindness of God. One final thing. Thanking God completes God's loving kindness and magnifies it in this world and above. Let us meditate often on the loving kindnesses of God.